quite a few people that I work with my information.
I'm Robert Massey. Nice to meet you.
Back and forthing things, but
Nice to meet you as well.
taking over.
Thanks for coming out.
Council President.
Who did I send her to?
They're acting. Is she on line there?
She's supposed to, but she's still in her car. She said she already without her.
Kathy said no, so I did send her the will. So I think they probably connected on Facebook.
Lisa still driving?
Okay, we have a forum. I think that the mayor will join us at some point, but we're going to go ahead and get started with our study session. I'd like to welcome the reps from Exceed Enterprises. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
And the floor is yours.
I said I was going to grab another chair, and then I didn't.
Hello.
How's everyone?
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. It's what, Tuesday?
It's Tuesday.
I thought it was
Just
Friday.
Tuesday.
I'm feeling like it's
I would have
Friday.
believed you.
It's Tuesday.
Let's see if I can work this. We're figuring out how to. Okay, it seems like it should do that. It did, yeah. It's probably user error.
Oh, you know what? I don't think it's turned on. That's my fault. I handed you a remote and it's not turned on.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that button
There you
says
go.
on.
I'm so sorry.
No worries. To get started with that, we can introduce ourselves. Yeah.
So my name is Naja Salesman, and I'm the CEO of Exceed Enterprises. I've been with Exceed now for July would be 2 years, and also a little over 3 years in Oregon. So that's a little bit about me.
And I'm Cosette LeMay. I'm the Director of Development and Communications at Exceed. And I've been with Exceed for just over 5 years. Glad to be here today. So we just figured we'd give you a little overview of who we are. Exceed was founded in Oregon City. We've actually been around for over 55 years. We've celebrated our 55th anniversary last October. We were founded in 1968 by two mothers who had children with diverse abilities, which is the language that we use at Exceed, and wanted to find something more for them to do outside of institutions or sort of limited expectations for their kids. And we provide a lot of different services. We do job placement and coaching, we do skills training, we also do benefits counseling, and we do fun activities as well. So this is a photo of one of our co-founders, Holly Wendell. Some fun news clippings that I've been going through lately from the 70s.
Yeah, and as Cosette said, we do a variety of programs. In our sector, with working with people with diverse abilities, people may be more familiar about residential programs, so we don't do residential. We focus on the vocational services as well as the day services. So for us, when we talk about day services, we do day support activities, which are skills training. So if clients come to us every day, and if they're interested in working, we actually support them by developing the knowledge, their interest, how to job search, how to create a resume, those kind of things, as well as we take them out into the community to explore their community. So that's really our day support services that we do on a daily basis. Another program that we do is, I'm not sure what slide is going to come up, but I can talk about it. So we're probably going to talk about our Work Futures program, which is more of the employment focus of what we do. So that is where we get referrals from the county and brokerages and voc rehab, and we support employment goals. So people say they want to work, and we get their information, we get their interest, and we have people on our team that goes out, build relationship with the community, as well to build so they can hire our clients. And once they're hired, we provide the job coaching, on the side job coaching, for however long they need. Some people just need it for right now, just for a few weeks, or we have long-term supports where we do check-ins and those kind of things. So that's what our Work Futures and Employment First program is.
Yeah, you said the county, but some of your slides are saying all the metro counties, Washington, Clackamas. So do you Clackamas? In city?
Well, we
Speaking by the county.
so we get funding from the state. So we get contract state Medicaid money.
Okay.
And our referrals will come from our counties or brokerages. So for example, with, we have programs in Bend, all the way down to Portland. So we have a program in Bend, Lincoln City, Salem, as well as in Clackamas. And so those are the areas that we service.
Thank you.
The other program that we do, I just talked about work features. So the other piece of programming that we do, we call our group supported employment. This is an opportunity for people sometimes who have not worked before and want the opportunity, we put them in a group setting. And we have contracts with other outside entities. So for example, Fulcrum is where we have a contract. They're like more beer distribution, bottling kind of place. And so we have different groups of employees that works at 3 different locations, and they do either sorting or like take damaged goods and like repackage them, that kind of stuff. And we have on-site job coaching that supports that group of individuals. And the hopes is that when they get that on-the-job training, understanding the schedule, learning how to punch in and out, and just their day-to-day tasks, then they may move from that sector, which is group supported employment, to individual employment, which is our work features program.
Another thing that we offer is benefits counseling, and this is really important for our clients that often rely on SSI and SSDI benefits. It can be a tricky balance to be working and active, but also still eligible for the benefits that allow them to really live their lives. So we offer this counseling, and it's available in all the counties that we're in. I realized I skipped right over in the intro that we were founded in Oregon City, and we actually now, our headquarters are located here in Milwaukie, just behind Bob's Red Mill.
Yeah.
So that's our main headquarters, but we do have programs in Portland, in Gladstone, and then as Nacho mentioned, we're out in Bend and the coast now too. And the nice thing about benefits counseling is that can really happen anywhere. We can do it remotely, so that's open to everybody. And then finally, we previously operated a sheltered workshop on site in Milwaukie, but that model was phased out in 2015 by the state of Oregon. And since then, we have transitioned that into our own on-site manufacturing business that we operate. And I've listed some of the customers that we partner with here. This is a picture of our Daimler team receiving their Masters of Quality Award back in 2020. They've actually won that award. I believe it's the 4th year now, yeah. But we work with Hood River Distillers. We do the buckles on the Pendleton whiskey, which is always a fun one, and Benchmade. So a lot of companies you may recognize.
So a question, so is the 9001 certification, does that flow down from like Daimler to you, or do you have your own certification? Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can ask our auditors about that.
It's impressive and requires quite a bit. But for us to have a contract with Daimler, we have to be able to maintain that.
9001.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
That's that's an international standards organization for quality assurance and control.
Great.
That's a big lift.
Yeah. Okay.
And we had a contract with Daimler for many years now, when we were also a sheltered workshop, which that work was being predominantly done by all people with disabilities. Right now, based on the fact that sheltered workshop is phased out, we hire people of all abilities. So it's now a mix of abilities that are our employees that do the work for Daimler. And what we do is we make their tables for breaks. So if we're winning a quality award, that really means that's a big deal. I'm just saying.
I've included just kind of some ways that we like to get involved in our community. We're always looking for employers. We have individuals seeking employment, as Nadja talked about, also work teams. We also offer something called discovery, which is a process of uncovering kind of our clients' strengths and the challenges they want to work on. And they often get to kind of test drive different jobs, which I personally wish was available to more people because it sounds pretty great. But in order to do that, we need to have different opportunities for them to kind of shadow and try out job skills. We're always looking for folks who can partner with us on that. We also take our DSA program out to tour different places and experience different workplaces as they're imagining what they might want for themselves. And then, of course, always just sharing who we are. As we mentioned, we've been here for 55 years, and oftentimes people are surprised to hear that. So we're just trying to get our name and mission out there. And I've also, because I'm the fundraiser, I have to include the Save the Date fundraiser that's coming up. It is a fundraiser, but it's also a really great opportunity to just learn who we are. One of my favorite things that we do is a lot of storytelling through videos about our clients. And it's the best way to capture what our mission really is. And so I was out filming this week and I'm really excited for that. So May 2nd, we'll be at the Embold Credit Union Community Room that they just opened recently. And we would love to be joined by anybody who is curious to learn more about Exceed. That's all we have.
And seriously, please do come and learn more about us and get to meet our lovely clients, those who will be there and be in attendance to share their own success stories of them really being able to participate in the day-to-day, like how they want to participate in the world, both themselves as individuals, socially and emotionally, but also being like taxpayers within our community. So I'd really love for you guys to come and share with everyone you know. So, yeah.
Great. So, do you actually have a physical location at all of these places that you had?
So we have, for our day supports program, we have a physical location that we run through the Church of the Nazarene, and that is in Oregon. Remind me, I'm still new and trying to figure out location.
That was on Powell.
That's in Powell. And then we have a physical location in Gladstone. And we're about to open a new location for day services, but that's in Washington County. So we rented a physical location out there as well. I believe it's off Cornell.
And one other question, how many clients do you typically have in your programs?
So we have right now about a total of clients, about 226 clients, and it varies what program they participate. So for example, our day supports program out on Powell, we have about daily 40 or more participants that come every day to explore the community, same as in Gladstone. And we're hoping the same for our Powell location, for our location out in Washington County. And on a day-to-day for our manufacturing, packaging, and assembly space, we have about 25 staff members, and about, I would say 20 of them are full-time, and the other 5 are part-time. Don't hold me to those numbers, but.
I'm just trying to get a sense,
Yeah.
the scale here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you had mentioned housing and that you don't provide that as part of your program, but for the folks that work in the Milwaukie area and in Clackamas County, are they also able to find places to live in Clackamas County, or do they have a long commute, long trip?
Well, what we do, we work with other organizations that provide residential care. So what we do, we either work with also Tribe List, pick them up from where they live and then bring them to us. And when they get to us for our day supports program, we have a fleet of vehicles that allows us to explore the community, bring them back to our facility, and then they get picked up at Tribe List to go home. Well, like I said, we don't have the housing piece of it, but we can support by referring or finding resources for our client, not just only about housing, but, interview clothes, things like that. So you guys have resources for that too, where we can give and share that resource to our clients. We'd love to have that as well.
And I do think a fair amount of our clients, because we've been based in Clackamas for so long, we have a lot of folks who do live in the area. And there's quite a few group homes that we partner with in this area specifically that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we don't provide actual housing, we do partner with those home providers to make sure they're getting the continuity of care from home and work and fun.
Well, within the next 2 years, there are scattered affordable housing sites that are located across all of Clackamas County, and the Housing Authority will be repositioning those, like disposing of those as county assets, but hoping to move them over into nonprofit ownership or community ownership. So maybe that would be something that we can follow up with.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Try and get the word out to your network, but if there's interest, I think that some of those sites, especially a couple in Milwaukie, might be suitable for group home.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Are they newly built homes or?
No, they've been part of the Housing Authority's public housing assets portfolios for a number of years, and in part that's why they're trying to, I think, move out of that line of business. They're also, building a pretty large footprint here in Milwaukie with the Hillside Park project. So, but I think that there are some supports that may be available through supportive housing services funding to help with either down payments and or paying down the mortgage, depending on who qualifies. So, maybe we can connect with your network.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, for us, what's next?
Great.
Well, thanks so much for coming. I frequently tell people that, I'll show my age here, that Milwaukie is like a English muffin. It has lots of nooks and crannies with people doing really interesting and good things, and we don't know about them. So when we find out about them, we try to surface them, give them a little spotlight and everything like that, because this is a source of pride for our community that we have an organization like yours doing such good work. So appreciate the good work. Thanks for you joining us tonight.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. We do have some information that we'll leave with you guys, and I'll leave my card with you.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Here, the people. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, great to meet you. Really important too.
We have brochures that overview services. These are in English and Spanish, and then we also have an impact report that dates from the most recent quarter. So thank you so much.
Thank you for making it.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Now we're going to welcome Rob Justine from Partner Meggitt.
OECO, yeah,
OECO.
exactly.
A lot of names there.
Yeah, I got a few, so I got through this. I don't know if we need a sharing screen stopped and sharing this closed.
Okay, clicker should be working now. Maybe.
Hey, there we go. I think so. It's catching up. All right. So we have started in 1946. I got a time delay on this guy a little bit.
Mhm.
There you go. You got it. So a guy named Jerry Osborne started OECO in 1946. It was Osborne Electric Company back then. I found this all recently, as I was just telling a couple of these people, in a whole host of boxes up in our archives that I've been sharing with my employees at all hands events about 5-7 years at a time. So we're in the mid 60s right now. But in 1948, he moved to an abandoned grocery store near 40th and Division, and then he moved on 7th and Hawthorne, where Hawthorne Electronics just moved up, which is now Tektronix in Beaverton. So two fairly decent-sized electronics manufacturers came out of that same building effectively all the way back in 1952. He ran into financial troubles, and he borrowed money from a gal named Lurleen Roth. Lurleen Roth didn't want to change the company name, but did need to change the company name because of financial troubles. And so that's where OECO came from. So that's always been the mystery, is it was kind of an internal moniker for the company. I was founded on drawings going all the way back to 1947, 48. But that's where OECO came from. They didn't want it to be an acronym. They just wanted to pronounce it. And we've been OECO ever since. So 75 years going still. I included this just because it's fun. Lurleen Roth is super famous in San Francisco. She was part of the Matson shipping line that got all their money doing sugar plantation transfers back and forth to Hawaii back in the day. She's famous for buying Ghirardelli Square, putting $100 million into it and giving it back. Another fun fact, that Ghirardelli sign, if you didn't know that, used to face the hill. And part of that renovation is the hill made them face it away because it was too bright for the people who lived there. So not only am I in a OECO rabbit hole, but I keep going down Wikipedia.
I thought you were gonna say it's made out of chocolate.
So no, it was ironically the same year she took over OECO, 1961, the Ghirardelli factory moved out of there and moved to San Leandro. They decided they didn't want to just let it go to whatever, so they bought the whole thing and converted it what it is today. So the second thing she's famous for is the 700-acre, 56-room Filoli Estates. So it's in between San Francisco and San Jose. If you're ever down there, it's open to the public now. They donated that again to the county there. It's most famous, and I won't show my age because I didn't watch this, but if you did watch it, for being the overhead.
Okay.
So if you ever watched Dynasty,
I'm talking.
that was the Filoli Estate. So the same lady now that owns our company is buying Ghirardelli Chocolate Factory and Dynasty.
Now you got it.
Right. This is all engaging. Okay, so by I believe that's 84, there was 12 buildings between 7th and Hawthorne, and around that was known as OECO City, driving aircraft parts back and forth across the street with a fork truck, dodging traffic like Frogger, and they decided at the same time, the anti-war protesters that moved in, there was 25 of them arrested for a very famous one in 1984, and Portland City Council decided to float the idea of a nuclear free zone. So this was all in that era of anti-war protests, and OECO had finally had enough and had too many buildings and too many people. So 1985, we launched an $8 million building in Milwaukie, largest in Oregon since 1979. Granted, it was like 85 at the time, so it sounds longer than it is, but Senator Bob Packwood and the Milwaukie High School Band keynoted the ribbon cutting in 1986. And my favorite photo of all of this was the beautiful blue on the left that they painted it when it started. And then on the lower right there is where theoretically hot rice would be today. So that's how new it was back then. There was literally nothing over in that developmental area where Freeman Way hits 224 there. So Oregon Tools just off to the left of us, but all that, the tie shop, and now there's a whiskey bar there, and none of that was there. Yeah, very crazy. So OECO itself, again, old company. In 2003, roughly that era, we were about $25 million business. We've been as high as $100 million in commercial power supply and sold chunks of the business and moved in and out of that. Danaher is a big kind of corporate parent, picked us up. We were part of them. They're $6.5 billion. They sold it to Meggitt in 2011. Meggitt was $2.5 billion. And then Meggitt was acquired in whole by Parker Hannifin just a little over a year ago. Parker Hannifin is $20 billion. The interesting part of that is that their aerospace division was about $2.5 billion, and Meggitt was all aerospace at $2.5 billion. So really, we doubled the size of their kind of military and defense and aerospace footprint. Today, we're a $100 million business. So big change over the last 20 years for us to get a lot of fairly consistent organic growth. Defense market's doing great, and other than Boeing planes every once in a while not doing well, most of the commercial air travel is doing pretty well too. So today, it's a picture of us with our new Parker Meggitt logo on the sign there. It's a 165,000 square foot factory. If I missed it already, it's right up next to Blount, or what is now Oregon Tool, and has been there since '86. We have about 100,000 square feet in the factory. We have about 25,000 vacant upstairs right now, office space. We could expand the office upstairs and move more manufacturing on the downstairs in there. So we've got quite a bit of room for growth.
Rob, if I may,
Yeah.
I've been here, and I gotta tell you, if you drive by this place, you have no idea how big it is. But I mean, once you get in there, it just goes and goes and goes. It is a gigantic facility.
So you've been inside it?
I have, yeah.
240 employees and counting, so we have about 125 of those are direct office staff. We have 15 to 25 positions open right now. We're that busy. We are full design, production, repair facility. So all of the engineering is done in-house or with one of our sister facilities. Most of it's done in-house. We really aren't a build-to-print house, if you're familiar with that in manufacturing. And somebody else comes up with the design and calls me and says, hey, do you want to build this? That's really not our forte. Primarily, we're too expensive for that anyway, to house all of our engineers, so it's not something we get into. And then I'm at their whim if they decide to move to a different manufacturer. So contract manufacturing is not really our game. We have a 10-year lease, so Schlesinger organization took it from Coal Company. They're downtown now, long Portland family. But we just renegotiated the lease there, which we got a few tricks out of that. So that's coming up in another slide. But we've got the lease through 2033. We have 2 5-year options on top of that. So effectively 50-ish years in Milwaukie guaranteed.
You said the Schlesinger zone,
Yep.
that building?
And now I'm going to take 5 minutes and make you experts in power electronics.
All right.
That's more than 5 minutes, it's too much. All right, so what do we do? Magnetics. If you take input current, my little pointer doesn't show up on the TV, it shows up on the wall though. The little red current there that's wrapped around that magnetic coil. If you run current through there, all the electrons in that core itself make a magnetic field. They start spinning around in circles in a magnetic field. And if you wrap blue wire around the other side of that, all of the copper electrons get excited and start moving through. And so it's a transform voltage with no contact. You just run current through the primary, which is the red one, and you get the output current out of the blue one. So we make power transformers. We make a whole boatload of them. We make cockpit dimmers, just like your old lamp dimmer in your house, to push on, pull off. You twist it dim and you make it bright. We make those same fundamentals of wrapping that electricity around there. We make several thousand-pound transformers where we build one to power the other one, where we're talking significant power for like a naval application. Some are down to the size of a shirt button, very, very small. We had 500 of those shirt button sized ones on the Apollo mission, the lunar modules. So it went all the way back to 1969 for us. If you take magnetic transformer and add electronics, this is all the complicated theory we get into, you get a power supply. So now I just have this basic transformer, I've added a diodes capacitor, and I just changed this. Where do power supplies come in? The thing you plug into your wall and you charge your iPhone. Anything like that, your laptop power supply, all of that stuff is basically a power supply. It's taking 110 volts out of the wall and putting 5 volts into your phone or whatever it is to keep it from frying. We do that, but we make much more complicated ones for it. We can also generate power. So same fundamentals, we're getting a little trickier, but we take that magnet, put it on a rotor in the middle, and we spin it around in circles really, really fast. So if we move the magnetic field on our own with the mechanical energy, we still get the same copper excitement and electrons out. So a generator or an alternator, the one on the left uses a permanent magnet all the way in the middle, so that thing actually would stick to the wall. We spin it around, or we can make a full generator with an electromagnet in the middle. So we actually charge that magnet with current. It's more robust, we got a lot more flexibility. The biggest one we sell is 80,000 watts. It's for the BAE Paladin. It's technically a howitzer, but it looks like a tank. It's all built in-house. It weighs 100 pounds. It's water-cooled. It takes 70 hours of assembly for us to get through start to finish. And power-wise, it's interesting. That would power 25 air conditioners simultaneously. So you think about how often you've tripped a breaker on a single air conditioner in your house. That's the kind of power requirements. Even this little middle generator here, that white one, that would power 7 to 8 air conditioners. There's going to be multiple of those on each plant. So a lot of power requirements that go into anything that's flying or moving for the military. And lastly, we can sense power. So if we take that magnetic field and we take that power, this copper wire in the middle that's got power shooting through it, and I'm going to make a magnetic field just like I do everything else, and we make a Hall effect device. And the Hall effect device is just something that reads that magnetic field and it provides power out. So now I can control power, I can distribute power, I can generate power, I can sense power. And that's basically what OECO's doing there. We make Gauss meters. That's actually just a meter that measures electric field or magnetic field. And we make something like that current sensor in the middle, which is basically going to tell you how strong that is. That one in the middle goes on rail cars. So if you ever take a train, which not a whole lot of us do, all of the brake cables run through something like that because they can't just slam on the brakes and check it, right? And they want to make sure those are working really well before they head up the hill so they can get back down the hill safely. So it's all that kind of non-contact, making sure things are in the right place at the right time with electricity, because you can't always just test something out. The simplest one is in your laptop. When you open the lid, it breaks the Hall effect device and turns the lid off. When you close it, it recontacts and turns your lid off. And you just got an Apple Watch, lift your watch up, and it turns on. A little teeny electromagnetic sensor in there that crossed the magnetic field flux coming out of the earth. That's all that's doing. That's why that turns on. We don't make it all. All right, so a little more about our company in general. Time checking myself here, sorry.
You're good.
Okay, all right. So we'll go through safety and sustainability. We'll go through kind of our leadership team, what we look like, product mix, a little more specific customer mix, demographic of our site, some job skills we're looking for, and then as always, kind of things we play around with in business that make it fun. Proud of our safety record. This is almost like you Google a good looking chart and it just gives you this nice drop down. This was not AI generated, that's our actual results. Some of that is luck, it's always part luck with health and safety, but we've done a lot. We have a more of an aging kind of tenured workforce, and so strains and sprains, slips, trips and falls, anything we can do to minimize that. Repetitive stress injuries is a big one for us. People just kind of doing the same spot and their shoulder gets sore and then 3 weeks later they need a chiropractor. So rotating people through jobs and anything we can do to kind of make their lives more comfortable. But it is a good trend overall and we're pretty proud of that. One of the other things we do is target one safety concern for employees. So common sense in manufacturing is it's kind of like a pyramid. The more things you get just as an idea at the bottom help you support. And if you don't clear all of those 30,000 ideas, you might have 3,000 near misses or something similar where somebody could possibly get hurt but doesn't, or hazardous condition, and then that keeps working its way up until you have one injury or one big issue. So we try to support the bottom of that triangle and get our employees as part of their goals and objectives to bring an idea to the table. Hey, I saw Tim standing on a chair, right, to go get that. That's probably not the best idea that had wheels on. Just simple stuff like that, but it keeps them thinking about it every day. As a site, we're no exposure certified for stormwater, which is key for us, especially manufacturing of our size. We are a large quantity generator of hazardous waste. I'm a chemical engineer by trade, so I'll teach you a quick trick right now. If you put 7,000 gallons of mayonnaise on the street, it's technically hazardous waste. So it's not hazardous necessarily in what it's doing for the environment. We're not too worried about it. Effectively, most of it has the same chemical makeup. It's like an oil-based coating. So if you were painting 10,000 houses a year, you're also a large waste hazardous generator because you're going to have a lot of excess leftover paint. And that's the varnish and coatings we use to keep our electronics safe at high altitudes and low altitudes. As it goes back and forth, hot, cold cycles, things condense. We don't like water and electricity together. So that's what we're using. We have no wastewater or air permits at all. We have no OSHA or EPA audit findings. We actually just had OSHA in our building a couple weeks ago.
Question about those, you mean this facility is not required to have those two permits?
Correct. Yep, sorry.
Okay.
Yep, nothing needed there. So we go
I was gonna have to get on the hotline and
Yeah,
report
right. Sort of an ethics problem here. Yeah. I don't know why I told him. So sustainability, this is one that I know is key to the area, but it's also interesting just to see. So this large building that you were talking about, 165,000 square feet, we have 50,000 of it covered with solar panels right now. So that part of that lease agreement that we did was to put the pure blinding white roof up there, and then the solar panels up there. And the landlord actually paid for that. So Josh and his dad had no appreciable assets on that building after 30 years and said, well, at the time, interest rates were very low and they were happy to put $3 million into our building and start depreciating that again. So it powers roughly, I'd say about a fifth of our total power, maybe up to a quarter, depending on when it's going. It was one of the largest solar panel arrays in the state of Oregon. It saved 1 million pounds of CO2 emission, which is the equivalent of planting 8,000 trees. So this has only been in place for a year and a half. It's chomping away power all day, every day, which is pretty neat.
And you find that it's working pretty well? I mean, it's,
yeah.
Because some of this, I know that this is maybe a misnomer, but when I mention solar to some folks, they say in Oregon, in Portland, how does solar work? It
Right.
clouds and rain all the time.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, most of our energy is going to be process waste, or process exhaust, or process ovens, or process heat, or anything like that, right? That's what's going to take the most of our electricity. So from lights and HVAC and those type of things, it would power 10 of our buildings. I mean, it's pretty significant. I think I've got up there, it's 60 homes.
60 homes,
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a good chunk of power, and it does output all day. What's interesting with this one is I can go into an app and actually see every single one of the 1,100 panels and almost like a heat map of what power they're generating. So you can watch it time warp as it goes, the sun comes up and they just start blazing off and then they go down. But even on a, cold January day, they're still picking up.
Okay.
So, I think for an average house, it's tough because you say, if you wanted to cover all your power or none of your power, right, type thing. And so that's a tough one because in peak, it's going to be pumping back to the city all day. But it's hard to afford a peak power plant, right? So you'd say, well, what portion of it's worth it to my house? So, personal use is a little bit different. But for us, anything that takes a big chunk out.
And you have a relatively flat roof there, so you don't have to deal with any of the slope access issues.
Yeah, so the only problem we really have is weight. We've basically at this point exceeded not exceeded, but maximized our weight threshold that we can put on there. We have a lot of, the left side is the office area, so that's easy to support. The right side is all open warehouse factory. And so we have a lot more ability to brace that back area and a less processing equipment. So fewer holes in the roof for process exhaust or oven exhaust or anything like that, where you see that kind of middle and all that HVAC support type system where it was, a little bit less. But it's actually nice for cooling as well. They sit about yay high off the ground. So we have the white roof and then a nice air buffer. So those things are just getting beaten down with sun all day, but it's shady underneath. And so it actually keeps our building cooler as well. So it kind of provides an extra benefit there. Other little one on the lower right, we eliminated single-use plastics. So we put the refill stations in. We're trying to go that route, took single-use plastics out of our cafeteria. And then we spent about $250,000 to install a water cooling tower that recirculates water rather than take cold water from the city and dump warm water back into the drain. So we cut our water bill in half, effectively doing that, which doesn't pay off to us, but it's still kind of trying to look at those sustainability type aspects. I don't have a slide on here, but we do some community stuff as well. We help the Minthorn area a couple times a year. We'll take chainsaws out and a bunch of people and help them clean up that wetland out there, which is kind of right behind our facility. We'll work with the food bank several times a year to do food drives, clothing drives, those type of things. And then the Milwaukie K9 has their walkthrough once a year, and we do an aid station walk for them. So just different types of things to keep us in the community. Names and faces, really not important, but again, for what we can do, we're fully integrated. So we're supported by Parker and their kind of global parent as a $20 billion company, but what we do in-house, we've got all manufacturing, engineering, sales and marketing, quality, human resources, contracts and trade compliance, which I'm sure you can guess with the government is a several person job, continuous improvement, lean, health, safety and environmental, full procurement, finance, and program management on site. So anything that's going to come into a project like ours is going to take a lot of resources to manage, especially when you're dealing with the Department of Defense or even Boeing or anybody else where they've got 25 heads for every one of mine. So that's why we've got that staff there. From an employee breakdown standpoint, starting with the big blue in there, I've got 140 directs, if I include the open positions I have right now. Working our way around through the gray, 22 production support. That's going to be my warehouse team, my facilities team, basically people that scale along with the factory floor, depending on what we're doing. 12 sales and customer service, 36 degreed engineers on site, 13 in supply chain of some sort, procurement and planning, and then myself, HR, various other management, finance. We got about 23 of us there. From a male-female standpoint, 39% female, 61% male. That's actually right dead on for industrial application. Almost all major industrial and manufacturing is about 40% female. So we're pretty much in the norm there. age and gender distribution on the left, and then tenure and gender distribution on the right. So these ones I point out, between 46 and 65 here, a considerable chunk of workforce there, pretty balanced between male and female. And then from a tenure standpoint, over on the right, 44 people greater than 25 years in that building, which is pretty remarkable. Even that 36 bar at 5 to 9 years and on down, you've got kind of a heavy level of tenure, and that's something that is terrifying in some days, right? You got that tribal knowledge in a 75-year-old company, and when somebody retires, we know how to do it right. But at the same time, you have to have comfort in the process control. So they had mentioned ISO 9001, and aerospace has that's higher standard than that, where it's a say what you do what you say type thing. And I tell everybody in my building, if you build it to the work instructions I gave you, but you build it wrong, that's on me. And if you build it on your own and you dodge my work instructions, even if it's right, it's still on you. And that's the aerospace standard. So we have to work every day to keep and update those work instructions in front of documentation, drawings, make sure they're accurate. Question. Okay. And then as well, from that tenure standpoint, how do I attract talent in that, keep the 0 to 3 years, 0 to 4 years as well as I can. So looking at younger engineers and trying to keep, some of the benefits that they might be used to. So we switched to a 410s January last year. So we've been on it for effectively about 15 months. And that was a big win for us. So we're always struggling to recruit in the area. And as you guys know, unemployment's pretty low and manufacturing's hard to buy into right now. I got another slide on that. But switching to 410s has been a big win for us, especially with the younger engineers.
Is that 410s for everyone or just those who choose it, or how is that?
It's not mandatory. There are people that, due to a schedule or just work-life balance or something, don't really like working the 10s. I have some people that, they're 62 and they say they get tired. I have some people that are 27 and they say they get tired. So, but I would say it's probably 95% adhered to.
And when you said that it was a big win for you, a win in attracting talent or a win in you saw productivity levels increase or what?
The productivity didn't drop, which was nice. So we monitored that over time pretty consistently to make sure we weren't kind of going too far the other way. And the trick with 10 hours, as soon as you're at 10.01, I'm paying overtime, right? So we had to watch that pretty close. But for the recruiting, we had, nearly, I would say, dozens of no-shows on the manufacturing floor for job interviews a month.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of people out there that were just kind of either peppering out there and then not responding, or there's so many responses to them that they eventually pick and choose which ones they want to go to. So when we're advertising 410s to people, it's they show up. They at least want to see what's going on there.
You see a lot of studies about the 410s and that you can get the same level of production. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting just to hear someone who's gone through it and that you didn't see a drop off necessarily.
No, we still have kind of a skeleton of people that will show up on Fridays or Saturdays as we need for the business. So we still run about 10-12% of the time. But that hasn't really changed from before. It's just kind of part of our industry. Everything arrives at the last minute and the customer still wants it on time. So.
Do you find that your tenure distribution is maintains that same sort of pattern across all of the areas of your employment? So production versus engineering?
It varies a little bit. I'd say it's heavier on the production floor. There's definitely there's people that are 4 years ago, we're still making $14 an hour and they've worked, for 20 years, right? They've just literally gone through every 2.5% or 3% raise. And now we're really trying to bump people up and do, from an equity standpoint to make sure we're not hiring in a new person at $22 an hour. I've still got somebody that's been here forever. So I think lately that's been a big reward, especially for some of the factory floor people. That we have a very heavy Southeast Asia contingent. I don't have the minority distribution or people of color distribution on here, but it is something we track. And that's something where there's people that may not be as comfortable with the English level, right? Or something else that they don't want to go take that risk. They're institutionalized a little bit, haven't worked for us for 25 years and now say, okay, now I want to go across the street, right, for the last 5 years of my career, whatever it is. So,
And you had mentioned that your vacancies were in production direct. Is that also pretty typical? Or do you typically see more, kind of in that, like, assembly?
yeah, most of our vacancies right now are just from ads, so we haven't really lost that many. But yeah, when we do turnover, it's typically going to be in the 1 to 5 year range. I think that's common with a lot of companies. Once you get past 5 years,
Come in?
you get some people that will decide to stick it out for the long run, or maybe get an extra promotion, they might go with it. So we do have a higher turnover in that 1 to 5 year. But I would say the factory floor doesn't quite turn.
Vocational campus, student campus?
No,
That might be an amazing opportunity to get more folks,
That'd be great.
coming in.
yeah, no, that'd be great. And I've got a slide on that actually. So yeah, you've got that one answered. Good job. Okay, market sector here. So a little bit of an eye chart. The big yellowish green one is our civil aero. That's 30 million. The blue is military non-aero, so not flying. The orange one is military aero. And then gray and green are energy and others. So if you look, the combination of military, which is the orange and blue, and my big green one, it's about 30 million each. This is a 2022 data, so it's a little bit higher than that now, but it gives a pretty good indication of our split as far as 50% of our business is commercial, usually air travel. 50% of our business is some form of Department of Defense, whether it's the Navy, the Army, Air Force, et cetera. This one just gives an example of effectively everything in this includes 2 other sites in our division, everything we're either flying on or powering. So all of those rotorcraft in the green, helicopters, your typical large jets, so A350s, A380s, Boeing 787, et cetera. Biz jets, quite a few of those. Oil and gas, that's downhole oil drilling. UAVs, trainer aircraft, land vehicles, vertical takeoff landing is the little guy there. And then attack aircraft was the last ones there. So quite a bit. I think at one point Meggitt was pre-Parker, but Meggitt had 77,000 aircrafts in flight that had a Meggitt part on it. Pretty conservative chunk of the market. From a customer standpoint, Raytheon Technologies is by far our biggest, but that includes all of their acquisitions. So if you followed any of that 3 or 4 years ago, they own Rockwell Collins down in Wilsonville. They own all of Pratt & Whitney, they own all of Hamilton Strand, and then the Raytheon Missile Systems. So if we break those up by customer, you can see on the left. VAE is land vehicles, that's the Paladin howitzer we supply, and it's also aircraft electrical. Boeing, depending on how well their planes are doing at any given time, is 4 to 7 million. Pandemic obviously hurt them a little bit. And one thing that none of us saw coming, but was, I guess, not surprising in hindsight, is that rich people don't stop flying. So the pandemic did not slow down the biz jet. In fact, it sent it almost double because there was a lot of people that still wanted to go to, the Keys or wherever they were going to go on vacation, and there was very little commercial air travel. So that was an interesting one to watch. A couple of our laborers and skills. So we call it winding. It's almost like a seamstress type position in a lot of cases, but this is wrapping that fine copper wire, which is all coated all the way through, so you don't have an electrical short. Around, you can see the one she's working on in her hand is probably a fairly standard size for us in reality. The wires get as big as your pinky, so obviously much bigger when we get into 1,000-pound transformers, and the smallest wire we do is about a third of the thickness of a human hair. So extremely delicate work, and actually layering that back and forth as the bobbin spins around and getting all that wire where it has. The one she's got in her hand has about 8 starts and stops. We're talking about the primary turn and the secondary. She's got we might have 30 or 40 or 50. Each one of those gets tailed out and then soldered onto something for different power applications in the future. So it's pretty fine craftsmanship. Electrical assembly is our most common. All forms of soldering, assembly, and workmanship. This is building the parts themselves. We do have machine and grind there. This is manual and what I'll call old school. None of it's the $120,000 CNC programmers. bigger sites. So the guys in small that I'm going to be hiring, these are almost the flick the cigarette, start the car from scratch type guys, gals that are working in there. The dimensions in aerospace are absurdly ridiculous, down to 1/10,000th of an inch for containing items. They certainly don't want to get out of tolerance with their aircraft. And then we have a lot of electrical test technicians. So this is both high and low voltage. High voltage can be 30,000 volts, so extremely high voltage, not always the highest amperage. But we get in there, so we've got a lot of qualified electrical safety workers that go through training several times a year, barricade themselves off. Those types of ways to make sure safety. And now, what I call my help in a vacuum. So since I have no idea how policies are made or, what ramifications my questions may have, this is help in a vacuum. At least it asks for some of these things as well. So open the Schedule 1 with me being an FAA certified building is tricky. So I have to follow Federal Schedule 1 for marijuana testing, whereas in Oregon, they don't. So whether it's a college intern or somebody that I'm hiring just in any position of their lives, there's a lot of, will you pass a drug test, right? All of the drugs, right? Yeah. To give people good warnings on that. But that one's a tricky one. So now I'm going to use all of the mayoral powers for the city of Milwaukee to change the federal law. I believe that's how it should work. This is another one that's tricky to us. Only 652.020 and 652.265 that prohibits manufacturing workers from working over 55 hours a week. Or if they sign a waiver once every 4 weeks, they can work all the way up to 60. Frankly, it's just not competitive. If you go to manufacturing facility right across the road in Vancouver, you can work 80 hours. There's no law there. So this is one where it's tough for us. It's tough for the employees. It's tough for. I get the point in I think the initiative behind this was important, right? To get more people employed. But when unemployment's this low and we've got so many issues trying to meet customer demands and keep up with things, this one is one that consistently comes up with us. So now I'm going to use all your mayoral powers to go back in time and change Cat Brown's mind.
Can we go to Washington and change their mind? So that,
that would help. Yeah, California too. Yeah.
Where's the flex capacitor?
Yeah. I haven't built that yet. This one could be something that I can get some traction on. We have a whole lot of day shift, and I know a lot of my neighbors in the area start their day shift at 5 or 6 in the morning, and there's not a bus that runs that early. This would be one that we actually would probably see some traction on, again, not just with me, but with Oregon Tool and others around us. This comes up quite a bit in interviews, right? You have steady means of transportation there, and they'll say they're on the bus. And we'll work with them 100% of the time, but it's both inconvenient for them and us, frankly, right? They want to start with their peers, and they want to start at 5 a.m., especially if you're working at 4:10 and you can't get on site until 7:30. That's a long day, so you take the bus home. So this is one that comes up quite a bit.
does TriMet run that early, but just not in this for you in this area, or just, I don't know, does TriMet
TriMet
run
does
that
run
early?
that early, but they don't have anything on International Way over there.
We, at one point, Lisa, you may remember when we were talking about a Milwaukie shuttle at one point. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it's something I think we should be talking about. We should keep talking about, but it was something we talked about when Kelly Brooks was she looked into some of the state funding pots when she was our assistant city manager. Because I'm not that optimistic. I mean, I've talked to TriMet about routes there and routes serving, and I'm not that optimistic about getting TriMet to do frequent service there, but there may be some way to work with, you and other employers, especially if you think there are other employers that have this same issue along International Way, to try and, have a conversation with TriMet about that. I mean, I think it's worth a shot. But I think it would probably take knowing that there are a few different employers that have the same issue.
Yeah. We fill out the effectively the how do you get to work study that goes out every year, and I don't know where that data gets capitulated, but between us and Oregon Tool and Bob's right there, we have to have 1,000 workers between the three of us. And Dave's, yeah.
A lot of swing shape.
Yeah. And then this is the point you mentioned. So I will fully admit, even going through chemical engineering in college, I love college. I went into 7 years of R&D, and then I got a job in manufacturing and realized what actually happens in manufacturing. And there's a whole lot of people out there that don't. And then definitely from an early job seekers that may not be college bound, that don't want to be college bound. There are fantastic careers that can be 6-figure salaries pretty easily in planning and production, management, and procurement, and those type of things that don't necessarily have to be gained in positions. So we did work with, I think it was Clackamas a little bit to and community college to try and get some, kind of name and face recognition, and we'd go to their facility and we'd kind of show some of the things we could do. And I think that's just something in general we got to do better. There's just a lot of people that are in high school that, frankly, it's hard to go get, a $20 an hour job. That would be it. But to think that that's all I'm ever going to do. You used to be able to buy a house and have it decent living and residently and those type of things. And now that's a tough run. But if you can get into that, really, when you've got space in it, there's a lot of it. It's not something to
Suitable for high school or
No, they can definitely come in. I mean, especially if they're just going to come in and work and you want to support all around that. They just do it. From an insurance standpoint, I'm pretty sure we're 18. So we would have to do some difference if we were truly to bring it in something like high school orientation, other than the 2 thing. Yeah, definitely, right out of high school.
That's going to show it up for work 3 days in a row. And you can plug that out.
Oh, we have some. Lisa, do you have any questions for Rob?
I think Lisa's on mute. We're having real audio trouble. I think as the crowd for Ryan swearing in swells in the lobby, we can really only hear them and we can't hear you anymore.
Yeah, it's really been hard to hear the last 15 minutes. I will say that. I agree. And I was looking on my computer to see if I had some other thing open because I was just like, there's some other meeting going on in the background. I did have a couple questions, and I will, just to expand on it, I am happy to have a conversation in May about going to TriMet or reaching out to TriMet about the bus service. I don't anticipate, like you noted, they have a lot of, they do an annual survey and they did boost a little bit of service out on the east end of International Way to serve the new mental health clinics on Lake Road, just across Harmony. They turned a route that was rush hour only into having midday service, but it's still not coming as early as you need it to come. I'd love to think about ways we can pull some of the employers together and try to have that conversation with TriMet, and I'm happy to work with you on that in May when I get back in town. I did want to ask a couple things. One was, you showed the slide with the roof and the solar. I appreciate you including that. Does the white roof, is that also a climate kind of adaptation that is a reflective kind of roof that's supposed to keep the building cooler? Is that right?
Yeah, they gave me a microphone to try and drown out the people outside, so hopefully you can hear me.
Great.
And I think she's fast forwarding to that. But yes, that was it's a much easier version of a roof than the old tar roof that they used to do, but it does have that benefit. It's glossy white. So it's going to soak up less heat for sure, and it's easy to maintain. And then obviously it's great for all the rain because it just runs off the side of it. So.
Okay. And there was the slide that showed your tenure breakdown. And I just noticed in that the last, if you look at the gender balance, the people with longer tenure, you have a higher percentage of female workers, and the people with shorter tenure, you have a lower percentage of female workers. And so this goes back to a question I had asked you on an email a couple of weeks ago, was about, or well, it's probably longer than that, but was about childcare and to what extent childcare factored in. But just noticing that sort of since COVID, although even the numbers even look like they go back, there we go, yeah. So you look back 15 plus years and you've got a much higher percentage of your workforce being women. And then the newer, the shorter tenure people, less so. Is there any reason to think that childcare is factoring, lack of availability of childcare is factoring into that?
I don't think so. I mean, I think even getting female applicants is definitely lower in manufacturing from what I've seen. So the seniority, and tenure we have from the older females is that big chunk of Southeast Asia women that we have. And at the time, that was, kind of a great job and a great entry, but it was also an area where, I mean, we have multiples of relatives in our factory that have all kind of been working there together, cousins and sisters and friends and et cetera. So a lot of that has just been, I think maybe what we were talking about, that comfort level with English as a second language, and could I get that good of a job out somewhere else? And they've stuck around where I also have, as you've seen on there, I've got, 11 people over 66 that are still working there, that really are going to keep going until they're done, so they're just interested in that aspect of work. But yeah, I don't necessarily think the childcare is a piece of that for younger females right now. At least that's not what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I would just say in terms of the reaching out, I mean, it sounds like you're in contact with the community college. There's also the Sabin-Schellenberg sort of, part of the high school system, the sort of vocational employment. And I don't really know a lot about them, but about what all the different things they offer. I mean, but that there may be some potential there. If you don't need someone there's actually a job fair coming up at Milwaukie High School in late May too. So if you're hiring people who don't need to have any college or any kind of certification, then, we can help put you in touch with them as well.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I also know, I think we might have talked when you were there. I know the general manager of Oregon Tool. He actually used to be in my building as well. So if we ever want to try and go in as a bigger group of people, we would really just need Bob's and Dave's, which I'm sure you guys know fairly well as well, and have some, some influence and way that we could work together and do, a co-job fair or anything else to try and help. Because I think Oregon Tool's down right now, but I've seen where they're flying flags outside. They're so desperate to hire people, and ECC has done that.
Right.
Yeah, it's been quite
right.
good.
Right. And I just want to give you a shout out for your employees working in Minthorn. I know, I work there most months myself, and I know your employees have done some great work, and the Wetlands Conservancy really appreciates it. And I think you're a model, and we'd love to see other employers in the area get involved. So I really kudos to you for that, as well as for the solar array work, which is awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, no, we love working with them. They're great.
Okay, no more questions? We've got our hand up.
I was just gonna jump in there, Council President, and say, I think that crowd in the lobby is swelling to great heights based on what I'm getting texted. So they've asked that when we're ready to wrap up, if we can wrap and let folks start coming in for the swearing in, that would be great.
So, Bob, really appreciate you coming over and great to see all the great interesting things that your company is doing, and hope to see you again.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
So before we jump up, I need to give you a hard statement is that at 7 p.m. City Council will meet in executive session pursuant to Oregon Revised Statute 192.6602D to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations. That will close the study session and move on to our next event.
Let the people in.
People in.
Chop it.
Mayor, Councilor Cosgravati, I think we should stay on the same Zoom, so we just get the hint.